this question, she prefaced it with an article that Philip Pullman had written about the overuse of the present tense. And I was reading through this thinking, oh God, how am I going to answer this? Because I've not done any academic work for far too long, and even when I did, I was a bit of a slackademic. And so I was reading through this article, and Philip Pullman used this phrase, temporal perspective. And I thought, wow, temporal perspective. That's a line from Doctor Who. So consequently, I imagined what would happen if Philip Pullman and the present tense and Doctor Who collided. So this is Doctor Who and the persistence of present. Philip Pullman didn't notice the police box appear in his shed. Probably because it was happening now. That is, in this actual moment. The present. It was a current obsession of his, and he held his head in his hands melodramatically so readers of the Daily Telegraph could understand. The present tense, always the present tense. Don't they understand this insistence on the now isn't doing literature any good? Aha! Exclaimed the young man who just exited the box. The great Philip Pullman! What a writer! I have something very important and essential to say to you. Great? Hardly. Well, it's your definitive text on C.S. Lewis that you'll be most well known for. What a labour of love. What? Oh, sorry. It's funny, you can say something in your head and it sounds fine. Philip Pullman just shook his. The young man with the fez put his hand reassuringly on the anguished writer's shoulder. What's the matter? There's far too much of the present tense in writing these days. People don't seem to realise that you can have too much of the present. Quite right. Horrible thing, the present. Especially if it appears all at once. You can never get a room big enough. All those younger versions of yourself wanting an ice cream at the same time. Altercations start. That's why there are days of the week. So they can all stop Friday and Monday from colliding. Imagine what that would do to the weekend. That's not quite what I meant. Sorry, that's not quite what I mean. Meant. What? You meant. If you meant mean, you're letting that pesky present get at you again. No, I don't think you... That's the trouble with time travel. Language sometimes struggles to keep up. Still, persistence in the present tense isn't really an answer. Exactly. Mind you, strictly speaking, it should all be in the past tense. No present whatsoever. Get rid of it. It's wrong. An illusion at best, at worst, a downright lie. It always makes me wonder why Joseph Conrad always felt so uneasy about his writing. Granted, it was fiction, but he never used the present tense. Come to think of it, neither do tabloids. It's modern fiction that's the worst offender. Modern! Ha! I'm a time traveller. Modern is relative to me. Do you know, Geoffrey Chaucer tells excellent knock-knock jokes. He sniggers. So the modern thinks it's the present. You should see what happens in a few years' time. It's the second person narrator that's overused. No longer will he be the narrator that's always got his nose pressed up to the windows of the third person's parties. But you should get rid of the modern, the present. It never lasts. I'm not sure the opposite extreme is a good idea. I don't want to get rid of the present entirely. One day, you, me, everyone will be nothing more than a story waiting to be told. Probably by an old man in a shed, talking to his dog. The few of us unlucky to be remembered will be related as someone that had happened. The present won't really have a right to be there. But it still has its uses, the present. It can still have an effect, to illustrate, communicate the immediate, protested Pullman. The young man laughed. Make your mind up, Pully. Well, I suppose you need as many effects as you can get, considering the limited medium through which you're trying to communicate. Still, it's better than telepathy. Telepathic species never have a successful body of literature. You can't do suspense through telepathy. Although Dan Brown will probably try to give it a go. Take the magisteriums of Valedorium 6. Terribly serious. Look like High Court judges, but lizardy. Their canon amounts to nothing more than endless talk about shopping lists. He looked sternly at Pullman. Lizard shopping lists. Limited? How do you mean limited? Well, you're essentially trying to express the multi-dimensional nature of reality through the monochrome of the printed word. all the thoughts that can go through someone's head every single second of the day, all the minute changes on a microscopic level to the huge monumental shifts across time and space, to the thoughts of a cat staring at a daffodil. Simultaneous within a second that will take several volumes to express. Lawrence Stern had the right idea, poor chap, but he wouldn't listen. I kept telling him he should sort out a conclusion first, just in case anything happened to him. Far too caught up in the moment. Well, it's the best we can do with what we have. And that's what I love about you all, you lovely, imaginative, sparkling and petty writers. Philip Pullman was grabbed by the arm and led to the solid and claustrophobic police box in the corner. Have a look at this. With that, he opened the doors of the box and let the writer gaze inside. Oh my word, he whispers, as lights flicker and machine tools bleep at him flirtingly from what looks like a surrealistic art installation, vivid in its nonsensicality. You'll need more than a word. You see, this is the multidimensional related through the three-dimensional. On the outside, nothing more than a paperback blue, whereas within, everything. He leaned conspiratorially towards Philip. It's all about temporal perspective. And he patted the side of his nose. It's bigger on the inside, just like a good book, or a line of exceptional poetry. Everything within a moment and a moment within everything. It even has an archive of what hasn't happened yet, unless the helmet regulators slip. Oh, and did I mention, it also travels in space and time. Philip Pullman moved to step inside but was stopped. No, I wouldn't if I were you. That could lead to all sorts of metatextual paradoxes. What? Have you ever seen a short story crash into a grand narrative? There's a lot of mopping up involved, and the community centre would be out of use for months. Philip Pullman didn't answer, and the young man gently lifted up the writer's chin to stop it disgracing the floor and led him back to his desk. Do you not read books then, with that? Asked Philip, pointing at the battered, formerly innocuous box. Read books? Of course I read books. Books are cool, as every second-hand bookshop knows. But I also experience them. He raised his voice, as if to an unseen audience. Who said Sherlock Holmes isn't a real person? Or noddy come to that? Anyway, I had something vitally important to ask you. Yes? How would you like to write for my TV show? No compasses, please, and it'll be a script. You won't have to worry about pencils.